It has to do with firing a client. Okay, it's something that people often talk about: firing clients, firing customers. And in our world, that fits into what we call a marketing plan and finding the right customers. So this story today, we're talking about a client of ours who's been a client for a little bit over 9 years now. And when we first met them, they had one client that was a big chunk of their business. As a matter of fact, it was about 89% of their business. And the problem was,
that was like a big shadow over them too.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get into
Yeah.
that. That's right.
well, part of the problem, Jack, though, was it was the wrong client. And it's one thing to have a good client that's that's that big chunk of your business, but to have it where it's the wrong client, that's really tough. So one of the things we started with is trying to help to define what a good client is. And many people, coming back to our earlier discussion about sales, people often will focus on sales. Hey, I have my top customer. They pay me a lot of money. Okay, well that's good, I guess. It depends. Again, not all sales are created equally. So how does it work in terms of time they take to service them? Is it profitable?
Well, how many times do we find that if somebody will pay you, hey, they're good.
Right.
We have a difficulty in many times talking our clients out of that, and we'll ask them, would you return a check to a client that didn't meet your standards? And they'll think and ponder that question, and many times they'll say no. They'll take the check.
Right.
And we don't coach that way. There's lots of reasons that for that, which Adam obviously is getting into.
And again, not all dollars are created equally. I think what you're talking about too, Jack, is this is maybe a dirty secret for a future show, but the idea that many small companies finance each other. And, that happens, or they become the financing arm for other people. They become a bank because all of a sudden they're carrying
That's
dollars.
right.
Where people, hey, I had a sale to you, but you haven't paid me for it, and whether it be 30 days or 3 months or 6 months. Also, okay, well, it's cash that hasn't been collected yet. And as everybody knows, cash is king, especially when it comes to a small business. So starting to look at and helping to define, this is part of our story with our client, helping them to understand that even though this client was giving them a lot in terms of dollar amount, it wasn't necessarily the right kind of client for them. They really didn't appreciate what they were doing. They like to be more partners with their clients, and they weren't being treated that way. So what's often...
Well, wait, as you said, if the customer is always right, you're just setting yourself up for abuse, business abuse, if you look at it that way, because the customer is not always right. That's not the case.
That's another myth we'll have to dispel here.
We're getting a bunch of myths here. That's good. That's a good thing.
All right, we'll get it for future shows here. So for this particular client, one of the things that they try to do right away, which is not uncommon, is they try to retrain their client.
Oh boy!
And we gave it a valiant effort, but this client had been a client of theirs for about 3 or 4 years, and it's kind of like trying to retrain kids. Sometimes it's hard to do. They get used to doing things a certain way, and so they tried in vain for a good chunk of maybe 18 months to 2 years to try to retrain this client. In the meantime, we had them looking at a lot of different areas for other potential clients. And because, again, at the end of the day, one of the solutions that could not necessarily be is to fire the client. If they were to fire the client, it being 89% of the business, they would have been out of business. So they didn't want that as an option. It wasn't that painful yet, right? So they had a situation about 2 years after we had met them where they had a chance for another pretty sizable account to come in. And what happened was, though, this account coming in said, hey, we'd like to bring you on board, and they wanted it on their terms. And it was near impossible for our client to meet this potential client.
How long were we coaching them at that point?
It was about 2 years at that point.
Okay.
We would kind of work through this, maybe 2.5 years. And it came to the point where this client said, hey, we want you to come on board. We want to have it on our terms. And the terms of this potential client were just going to be so onerous that it was going to basically break the client's back. They wanted something done in 2 weeks. They said, look, 2 to 3 months is more of a reasonable time frame. So as often the case, one of the first things that our clients do is they place a phone call to us. Hey, we need to chat. I want to run something by you because this is a big deal. Even though our regular meeting is scheduled for a couple more days or for another week, we want to be able to kind of talk to you. So that's one of the reasons why Jack and I are available 24/7 to our clients, is to help make sure we can have these kind of discussions. So we had this discussion, and what we pointed out to our clients was that if they were going to do what this new potential client wanted, they were just trading one bad client for another in terms of how they were going to be treated. So we talked about the fact that, hey, the approach is going to be, we're happy to take on your work, assuming it's under our terms and
Well,
being more of
this is
the
a big
original time frame.
a leap of faith that they were about
Yeah.
to take. All right.
So this is a big company, a Fortune 100 company that they were sitting down to talk to. So this wasn't this local corner store kind of thing. So they said, okay, we'll take your advice, and they went back in and they did exactly that. And we had them recount this story a few years back to their team, and I was getting chills as they were explaining it.
You know, we often get those moments, don't we, Adam?
It's unbelievable.
Where we get these aha moments, and quite often we make these big moves with them, and when it works out, and usually it does work out in a favorable way, literally, it brings tears to our eyes sometimes. So,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Well, as they were sharing the story with their team, they talked about coming out in the car, and they looked at each other. They didn't turn the car on. They said, "What did we just do?" All right, a big gulp in their throat. And a week later, that potential client called and said, "Hey, we're going to go with you guys."
What a great time. What a great moment that was.
So